ladies and gentlemen, to the Crow's Nest podcast. This is Evok,
TDZ.
and we're at the 15th episode of this podcast that it might end up soon, actually.
Yeah.
So, that we're gonna keep you up to date.
Yeah. So basically, because we're both going up, we have decided that we will end the Crow's Nest and rename it to something else.
So it's not really ending.
Yeah. It's not ending. It's just we're gonna change the name because, well, I won't be a crow anymore, and she's not gonna be in Halifax, and we'll come up with some weird alliteration with dragons and wolves.
I can't wait to find something. And well,
It should be something Game of Thrones related, I'm sure.
yeah,
Dire wolves and dragons.
yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking. But
Yeah, I figured.
if you have suggestions, feel free to let us know as well.
Also, yes.
Like, I know some of the user have a good dad humor, so you guys can come up with some good stuff.
Better than my imagination.
Yes. Like, what I was thinking about that was like, I have no clue. Like, that is pretty much not Game of Thrones straightly like quoted.
Yeah, like just like a pack of dragons, but it's kind of like, it's kind of stupid. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's got to be something way better than that.
Yes. So we're gonna find out for next week, probably, or the week after. Anyway,
Yeah.
soon that's gonna be anyway in the SHL media section. So that's gonna be really, really interesting to follow.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun off season.
Yes, it's a long off season.
Yeah.
So let's start with questions right away. So the first up is Clint Eastwood, our dear Clint that is making us survive, basically.
Yeah, basically.
So his first question is prediction for the Challenge Cup final.
Toronto surprised me so far. I would have thought they would have been eliminated long before now.
Yep. When I looked at their ranking, I was like, oh, they are that like low in the ranking.
Yeah, I could have swore they would have been eliminated, but they keep fighting as underdogs and taking out these heavy favorites. So if anybody's gonna do it, probably them. That could beat Winnipeg, but I'm not sure. It's just Winnipeg's so hot right now. Those two lines, which we'll discuss a little bit later, are just on fire. So I'll probably predict Winnipeg in 5 or 6. I think Toronto will take 2, so I'm gonna say 6.
I agree with you. The big factor will the line will do a difference in that series. That's gonna be interesting to follow, as it's a big debate on the website, because everyone know that Winnipeg is running 2 lines.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really interesting to see if it actually, like, will depth be more important than power horse? That's basically what this series will answer. Like,
And I thought that would have been the same thing with Seattle, and it went 7.
yeah, it was really close.
It was close, so I think Toronto has a chance because they have good depth, but it just, we'll see.
Yes. And if Winnipeg, like, there will basically probably be 2 outcome of this. Like, Winnipeg lose, and, like, people start to accept that playing 2 lines is not that bad. Yes, it boosts player stats, but you still have a way to win against them. And if they win, it's probably gonna go to HO and be like, discuss even more and more and more, like they do every
Yeah.
off season.
Well, from what I've gathered in the, I don't know, whatever it's general discussion or Thunderdome post or whatever. I think it's a general discussion, or SHL discussion or whatever. But head office has already got a new thread up for it and are discussing it yet again. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure it'll get really into it in the off season though.
Yeah. Because it's been a few seasons that it's around and people get more and more annoyed with it.
Yeah. I think people were pointing back to like season 29 for a few as well, and so it's been around for a bit.
So next up, what are your thoughts on the K Marco post? Do you want to rage?
I'm not gonna rage, and I'm honestly probably just not gonna comment on this because I see both sides' views on this, and I understand where the Detroit players are coming from. And for those not in the know, quite a few of the St. Louis players, including myself, made goodbye St. Louis posts as we're leaving and getting caught up. Detroit wanted to mock it. Well, I don't think that's in good taste or sportsmanship. At the same time, it is supposed to just be a sim league and fun. So I'm not gonna, like, I downvoted him or downrepped him or whatever, and if I could take that back, I probably would. I just don't care anymore. In my opinion, people should just let it go. The problem is that Detroit players kind of keep commenting on it, which sparks the St. Louis players to come back, which sparks the Detroit players to come back.
No, not only did they keep commenting on it, but some other Detroit player did it as well.
Yeah, quite a few have done it. So, again, I don't see it. I see it my way, I guess would be the proper way, and they see it their way, and there's no wrong way for it, so I don't give a crap. Like, they can do whatever the hell they want and let people judge them based on their own individual merit.
Yeah, for me, personally, I think it was, like you said, kind of without taste. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's a sim league. Like, people need to learn to ignore stuff. That happened. Like, yes, it's gonna be frustrating. Yes, I would have probably not liked that it happened to me. There is some stuff that I did never like that happened to me. But at one point, it's like, okay, well, how much do I want to ruin my mood for something that, like, is something I want to have fun with? Like, normally I want to have fun here. I want to enjoy my time doing, like, that simulation. So at this point, it's like, okay, well, I can just ignore that one. Like, it's not that much of an issue at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and like you said, ignoring, is from the very beginning, Detroit should have ignored our posts, and then we should have ignored that one in return. It should have just been a non-say, yeah, we made some posts that were kind of cheesy and unoriginal in name, but it's a way for us to make money. I think I had like 600 and something words. That's 600K now that I don't have to earn later. That pays for something. So, it was a way for me to be able to make money easily while also saying thank you to some people that I played with for 3 seasons now. And I think, I could have done it in the Discord. But again, I don't get money for posting it in the Discord.
Like, basically, actually, like, the letter of goodbye is just a way for players to get money. And, like, that's an important factor of this website. Like, you have to gain money to be good. So, I can totally see why people does it that way.
I think it's a very easy topic for people that struggle with coming up with ideas to write. I could come up with some better stuff to write about, but I'm lazy and I have jobs, so I don't have to write media. But I thought it would be a good way just for me to get a little extra cash to do something really easy and fast. It took me like 10 minutes to whip up. So, yeah, that's it on that. Next question is, if Winnipeg pulls out the Challenge Cup, do you think that'll spark a rule change for the ice time inflation? I think it's going through either way, regardless if they win or not. I think that spark's been lit, and there's no slowing it down.
Yeah, it's probably a hot topic in SHLHO. So it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with, because I know that it was discussed last season and kind of like never went with it because GM complained, but most of those GM are now gone, so it's still a possibility that it happened this year. Well,
I agree with what somebody said in the thread with the GMs complaining, and their response was, of course the GMs are going to complain because it would hurt them.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be up to the GMs because they're never going to vote for something to hurt their team in any way or fashion. It should be up to head office. And if they deem, and the site deems, which I think is getting pretty clear that most of us do, or at least they need to have a poll to have definitive numbers.
Yeah.
Then they need to make the call themselves, not rely on the GMs who are obviously not going to vote for a rule change. It's not in favor of them.
That's true. So,
but at the same time, if the GMs have found that they don't need the rule change, or not the GMs, the head office, and the GMs did not influence that, then so be it. That's fine, but we need to understand that.
Yeah, that's true. Like, there is some point where like the 8th office should take decision no matter what the outcome gonna be, because like you said, it's true that no one's gonna vote for something that hurt them, because that would basically be like, well, quite stupid. So like I think last season was not exactly having ice time rules, but most likely it was related to double shifting, I think. And they wanted teams to have like 12 players, 12 forwards, and 6 defensemen, which is kind of crazy to do in that simulation.
Yeah, that isn't going to happen. And I've seen 9 forwards thrown out with the 6 defensemen, and that is a little bit more doable. I think 9 and 4 would probably be at least do. I know nobody's running 2 defensemen, but at least I think the player count is a little bit more controversial than the ice time percentage total, or not as controversial, because if you limit the ice time total, they can't double shift anyways because they would bust over the total.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're like, okay, the total has to be 35 or 40% for a forward and like 50% for a D-man. Well, you put them on line 1 at 35% or 30%, you can only put them on one other line at 10 or 5%. And it's like, okay, I want to play them on all these lines, but then those lines have to be 10% and 5% and 5%. So, you got to play those lines more than that. You have to equal 100. So a total is going to put a limit on the double shifting. And the double shifting isn't my problem, or I don't care as much. If they want to double shift them on line 1 and line 4, and they're only out there for the 40%, and they're getting like 22 minutes like normal, then that's fine. I don't care. It's when, you have 6 players playing your entire game. And I don't blame Winnipeg, because I would do the same thing.
If it allows you to win, I mean, it's a crazy no-brainer to, do it.
Yeah. You do what you got to do to win. And if there's no rule against it, then you do it. But it's at the same time, it's a shitty way to look at it, because then you're acknowledging that
there's a flaw.
There's something wrong. You're like, oh, there's no rule. It's like, yeah, that's just you saying, this is shitty, but I'm going to do it anyways, because I can.
It's exactly that, actually.
Yeah. So I think there needs to be a rule change. I just don't know how they would go about it and get something that would really work well, because a lot of people are focusing on these need 9 forwards and need 6 defensemen, but filling that out, you could still just put the top line at 70%. It really comes down to the time percentage to me. Overall time percentage, and not even like limiting time per line. Like, a certain player can't have over this time percentage total per game. And if you limit it in the lines, then it's going to limit it on the stat sheet, and that's fine. I think my biggest problem with the doing it like that, though, is it hurts the younger players from being able to play. And we've went so far against what used to be, I used to hear of people would stay in juniors 1 season a lot of times, and the second season was very rare.
Yeah.
And now, we have people like us that stay down for 3 seasons. You have some people that stay down for 4, go up with 800, 900 TPE, 1,000 TPE. They can contribute on their SHL team with 500 TPE.
Yes.
Easy. And if every team has these players that are contributing with 400 or 500 TPE on the fourth line, then it's an even playing field still. It's not like you're going to have at least, that's on you if you can't recruit enough people or draft enough or whatever to fill out enough lines so that you could have 700 TPE people on the fourth line. But you shouldn't punish the teams that draft well and that recruit well and have their budget planned out perfectly so they can have 9, 10 really high TPE forwards that they can all play.
Yeah, for me, especially as you said, junior players, after doing it, staying in junior for 3 seasons, at the beginning of this season, I used to say, it's actually fun, I'm gonna stay down for a while, I'm gonna always, stay down, blah, blah, blah. I would actually not recommend it anymore.
Yeah, about 20 games in the season is when I was like, I'm ready to go up.
Yeah, but then you're like, well, I said I was gonna stay down, And
yeah.
Halifax was still winning, but it's fun to be on a junior team for 1 season too, but after that, it's I have nothing to do anymore. I still haven't done my update from 2 weeks ago. I have all those TPA accumulated. I haven't done my update because I just, there will be a point soon that I will have to do it because I'm going up. But as long as I was in junior, it's I don't even need to do it. I'm capped. What do you want me to do with it?
Yeah. It just, every update looks the same as add this here, bank. Add this here, bank.
Yes, that's it. And it's getting really tired. So there's no feeling of progression. So it's well, yeah. It's getting long now. I'm really, really looking forward to go up and trying to find the motivation again to be on that, website.
Yeah, I think limiting ice time would help that a lot too, though, because then you have to call these players up because you need whoever you have that's active. There's not so many 300 or 400 TPE inactives because teams have already snatched those up. Most of the inactives are 200, 155 to 200 or so, and then they burn out the first couple weeks and they're gone. And there's a couple that get in the 200 to 250 range, but after that, there's not very many. Some capped at 350, but even then, you can get an active that's been here, even if he's been in, he's slow progression, even the lower end of the class, as long as he's active, he's going to hit that 350 easily and go over it, and it's better than that inactive.
Yes.
At least you can talk to your player and build or try and shape the build how would help your team, I guess. That's not something you can demand, but you can discuss.
You can try to help them. You can, like, at least there's some life in it. Like,
yeah, and it just allows more people to have fun, I think, is the biggest thing. When you have guys that are sitting in juniors because they have to, I think is when you're starting to get a problem.
or they feel they have to. Like,
Yeah.
it could also be a problem. Like, oh, if you, like, oh, you have to stay because we're gonna be really good without you, with you and everything. It's like that was not the case in Halifax. I never stayed because they asked me to do it, or they like tried to peer pressure me to do it. But I could see some team actually like inciting player to stay down like another season to have a good run and everything.
Yeah, and I think some players also look at the time that the other team's getting. It's like if I was going up to Winnipeg, say, and you're looking at, and I'm a forward, not a D, obviously, in this situation. But if I'm a forward looking up at going up to Winnipeg, and I have 600 TPE, and I'm looking at everybody with 1,000 or above for those top 6 lines, realistically, I'm going to be playing fourth line, and I'm going to be getting minimal minutes because they're not going to put me up there and play me big minutes where I could potentially hurt the team more.
Yeah, or at least that's what it looks like.
Or it feels like it, yes. Even if it's not the case, it does feel like it. Not saying Winnipeg would do that because I'm sure they would still play who they need to play if they had to.
Yeah, but it's like when you look at it just like that, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and it's like, why would I want to go up and play 12 minutes a night as a forward when I could stay in juniors, get top line, bank my time up off the charts, basically. Kind of the same problem, but not nearly as much. I've noticed a lot of, at least every juniors team running 9 forwards, so that's good. And then, you can get 23 minutes a night, 22 minutes a night or so, something like that. I think the highest junior had like 22, which is good for forwards. And, 22 minutes a night as a forward and lead a league in scoring or something. Why would you want to go up and do nothing?
Yeah, like that's pretty much it. Like, that was one of my debate at the beginning of the season with Halifax. And it's like, actually, I'm sorry, I just looked at the index, and the highest minute played for a winger was 24 minutes. But he was the only one. After that, it dropped to 22.
Who was that?
Viscott.
Oh, yeah. PGF, I don't think had the depth that some other teams did.
Yeah. But
and juniors is a little harder. You have to sign 155 TPE in actives or something like that, or these 200 TPE in actives. Or it's not like, SHL where you're like, I don't want to sign them. I'll just run people more and send them down. I don't have to play them.
And after that, for what I was going to say about, yeah. So at the beginning of the season, that was a debate for me. Like, do I want to stay down and know that I can have a good run with good stat, which ended up paying really well for me, or go up to like New England where I would play on the third line? The answer was kind of easy. I mean, I don't want to just sit here and look at my stat and be like, I got 10 points of the season because I play like 10 minutes a game on the third line. So, just because of that, it was an easy decision to do. Like, because you mentioned, like, do I want to just sit around and do nothing? Well, no. No player gonna tell you yes.
Yeah. In the playoffs they will, but not during the regular season.
Like, if they had called me during the playoff after Halifax was eliminated, if they were in the playoff, I would be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, St. Louis made it further than Calgary, or I could have potentially went up too. But at the same time, I wouldn't have played. I would have been, because I'm capped, I would have been like the 6th or 70 or something like that. Where, like in my situation at least, ESSA had planned it out of, okay, we have these many people, these people are retiring, you have this much more TP than these people. So we can send you back down for one more season, and when this person's contract is up, you basically slide right into their slot because you'll be uncapped now and jump from 7 to 4. So, or, maybe third pairing, I don't know, but I'll get decent time compared to getting nothing if I came up in playoffs. It might be like a CrossFit situation where I get like maybe 2 minutes in a game.
So, yep, that was and that's all coming from time inflation. Yep.
So, all right, and next.
Yeah. Next question is if there is nothing done about the ice time inflation problem, do you think more teams play their star a very big amount of time?
No.
No.
I think the teams that do it have to, or don't have to, but...
Well, the team that do it because, like you said, either they have or want to, but there's a lot of teams that could do it, and, like, they know it's a solution, like a possibility, they know it's an issue as well, and they could do it, but they don't. Like, they prefer to play their, like, young player, other player, everything, their actual deep depth.
And the thing they're looking at this way is, why would you want to piss off your players that are active? By being like, you're going to get 10 minutes, and we're going to play the top 2 lines almost the entire game. You don't want to piss off your active young players because they are the future. So you play them because, one, they can help. The endurance is still a thing, even if it's not that effective. Especially in playoffs, if it starts going into overtime, then they're just going to get even more tired. That's when depth really starts to come in handy. But, if you don't play them, then these people go inactive potentially. And then you have no depth, and your players are even older than they were before, getting closer to just being so deep in regression it's ridiculous. And now you're having to rather rely on free agency or drafts now that aren't going to be able to affect you for at least 2 or 3 seasons. So I don't think anything will change if it doesn't go through. The teams that play it will probably be the same teams that are already doing it, but probably less so if they have people coming up, or more so for teams that are losing people to free agency or shit like that.
Well, I don't think those teams will do it because they want to abuse it.
Yeah, they do it because they can, because it's just how it worked out.
Yeah.
All right, Evok, if you go to New England, which I think we discussed you were, what line would you like to play on? Which I'm sure isn't the line that you are going to play on.
Nah, I don't think I'm going to play on the line I want to play. Let me try to go look at the roster again. So, bearing the fact that no one leave, which I don't think anyone can right now. Where are the roosters? There you go. Forwards. They pretty much all are more than me, I'm pretty sure.
I was just going to bring up lines.
Oh my god. Yes, they are. There's so many of them.
Lines.
So I have 1,
all right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 forward with more like TP than me. So I'm pretty much gonna be on the third line.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be taking Talos or Forbrook's spot, whichever one of those has less TPE.
But yeah, basically, that's gonna be like, I would like to play on the second line, but I don't think that's possible, and it's not. It's also kind of not fair for the other players that are here too.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna move fast though, because we still kind of have old players that could retire or leave. Probably not now though, because I'm not seeing anyone that like yelled to me they're gonna retire. soon, because all of the player I'm looking at, like, that are playing in front of me, still have a lot of TPE and can probably fight regression for a while. So yeah, that's probably gonna be third line.
Yeah. All right. Who's more heartbroken, me after losing to Detroit or you after Montreal? And I'm pretty sure it's you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's me.
St. Louis wasn't favorites going in. In fact, Detroit was the 2 seed. We weren't even supposed to beat them, and we came back to take it to 7, so it only lost by 1. So I'm not happy with what happened, but I'm not like pissed about it either.
It's upsetting for Halifax losing to Montreal. I was really not happy. I was really, really, really sad. Because Halifax had a so good season. Like, we had such a good season, and we played like shit. Like, we almost got swiped. We lost the 3 first game, like, by a margin, if I remember correctly, or at least my player didn't do shit. So it was really sad. Like, it was really hurtful to see that. Like, all season long it went well, and then you arrive at the playoff and you're like, nah, it's not working. It's like, but why? So I know, like, you said that we were getting destroyed in the playoff anyway when you were running past Sim. But I was still, like, kind of hoping that we'd do better, and that was a fluke. But it was not.
Yeah.
After that, well, I'm over it now. I don't really care about it. At the end of the day, it's a fake trophy. So I should stop to let that go to my head too much, like I did at the beginning of the week. And that's pretty much it. Like, learn to let go. Learn to ignore, like I said earlier in the podcast.
Yeah. All right. Looking forward to IIHF.
Yes?
Yeah.
Maybe not this season, though, but next season.
I'm still interested to see what we can do this season.
That's true. Well, actually, when you think about it, if we can do kinda good, that's a really good sign for the future. Like, because we don't, like, yes, we have, I think our best defenseman is like, what, 800 TPE? Which is not the end of the world, but it's still not amazing. So
843.
yes.
Or at least last updated in the sheet. Let's see.
I think it was
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad. It could be better, but if we kind of manage to win more games than we lose, or at least close to, that's mean it's gonna be really strong, like, in the coming seasons.
Yeah. I think our problem is just how many people are capped this season.
Yes.
That won't be next season. You know, because you uncap, I uncap, Blues uncaps. So, immediately, like, you and Blues would take over. Well, not both of you. One of you would take Wick's spot on the second line, and then our third line just gets even better.
Mm-hmm.
And both of our rookie centers are going to be capped by then because they've been really active. So at least we'll have a little bit more depth down the center. And we have more people that the season after that will probably be uncapped. So it's just going to continue every season that we're going to have these players coming in uncapped.
Yeah.
That are going to be getting higher and higher. And other than Eurocap's player, most of our team's fairly young. Like, you'll replace Wind, and we have that replacement there. Eurocap, with Cervantes, he has a good amount of TPE, But by the time next season comes around, with him in regression, Storm will be higher than him.
Yes, that's true. So I think we're doing a really good job with recruitment so far, and that's just gonna continue in that way, which will make the team always even better.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're getting a lot of signups too, which is nice. Or just rather from word of mouth or us seeing us posting on the forums, which is always good. I love every time I see that Ireland flag.
Yes.
So I don't know what's making people sign up. It could just be pure coincidence, whatever it is. I'm glad it's happening. I've been working my ass off on transfers. I've been bugging Mook Kreller for like a month now because I noticed a month ago, and we were in the middle of the season. No reason for me to even be looking at IIHF, but I do this shit. And I noticed, I'm like, oh, he's unassigned. I'm going to work on it. So I've been here and there, just, hey, we'd love to have you. And I think that helped a lot when it came down for him to decide, because we've shown him that we wanted him here for a long time.
Yes, and like starting early recruitment is never hurting. We're actually doing it with some forwards, not unassigned, just to make sure I'm not getting like not rookies. I mean, just to make sure I'm
Wouldn't
not
matter.
getting.
Unless
like
season 39 would.
Yes,
but yeah.
Season 39. So not season 39 rookies.
Yeah.
I'm not tampering right now, but we're starting early recruitment about assigned player that we kind of have our eyes on, and that we would be interested in the future season to move. And it's just to let them know, like, look, we look at you. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, it's mostly teams that are stacked. So the chance of, like, playing those players are low. So I think making them know early that, like, look, someone is looking at you, it kind of boosts their confidence and everything.
Yeah, and I'm not going to steal players from these teams that are hurting.
No, not. I would never try to recruit someone from, like, Austria. Like, I would feel so awful to do that. Those players need all the players they can have, and if they can have someone active, yeah, that's it. Like, I'm gonna let them have them, because I would not like that to happen to me.
Yeah, but like you're saying, I've been recruiting. So we have a player that's ready to come over next season, a season 38 player. So, didn't start till even this week. So playoffs were done before I even talked to him, much less, having to wait till it started. But, I look ahead, and I'm looking at the team ahead, and I'm always trying to build this team for the future as well as the now. I'm not going to try and be like, oh, we're good, so let's just coast for now. There's no reason for that, because you have players that are going to get old and move out, and we're going to need a replacement. And I'd rather have like a 700 TPE defenseman on the fourth line that doesn't want to be there and transfers. Because then I'm like, okay, my team is good enough finally that I have players mad that they're not getting enough playing time that they could elsewhere at 700 or 800 TPE. I don't want them to feel that way, but it's a good thing.
No, they can't leave if we play them. So if it's sitting on the fourth line, we cannot play them. We cannot make them leave.
It's just figure of speech in that sense. Is
Yes. So yeah, that's actually really true. Like, the day I'm gonna have player, like, high TP player, be like, can you play me more? Can you do something? I will be kind of happy and kind of feeling really awful.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, I guess would be the right saying. It's still a problem though, and I wouldn't want that. But I'm not gonna hold anybody back that wants to transfer. in some of the players I've talked to, it's like, you know, if you want to, I'll lay it out for them. Is like, you're behind on TPE. This is where you would play. If you don't want to do that, then that's fine. I'm not going to hold you back. You know, I want people to have fun. It's the same reason I transferred from USA over. It's because I wanted to have fun. You know, part of it was because this is an opportunity for me to get some GMing experience, even if it's very short every season. It's something. And later learned that I could have done that over there anyways. But besides the fact, I would have been much faster playing here. Or I could play – well, I did play last season. In USA, I still probably wouldn't be playing until next season. Alrighty. We are going to skip the rest of Clint's questions. Oh, except for the last one. Unless we have more time at the end, then we'll come back for them because they're a little off topic.
Yes.
His last question, though, is top SMJHL teams next season. Probably Detroit. I mean, I don't think they're losing very many people, if any.
Well, I would think they lose Waters.
Yeah, but
that, no.
Yeah, I don't think other than Waters they'll lose very many, and they're rookies that were having big line minutes like Crutch and Finn are just going to be capped now, so they're just going to get even better.
Yes.
So they can replace basically Waters' player with another and then have even more. So I think a big thing will be if they lose Marmeladev, which I don't think they will because I'm not sure if he's even still completely active. I think he's semi-active. But I'm not positive on that, and I apologize if he is active. I don't check that stuff. So we'll see. I think they're probably clear-cut favorites, though. And then PGF if they get Viscock back, because I know he's a little bit behind on TPE from some other players. And he's on West Kendall, which is stacked. So who knows if they're going to... You know, I'm sure they could play him somewhere, but who knows if he wants to be played lower down the lines when he's been dominant in juniors.
Yeah, but at one point it gets boring. Like it's true that I don't know how many player PGF gonna lose.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is I just don't know who's losing who other than my own team.
Because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm still not confident how many players Halifax gonna lose, but in my opinion, that would be a lot. So I'm really not interested in staying down. Like, I'm sorry it sounds awful. That's not how I want it to sound, but, like, I did that one season. Like, the first season, like, it was awful. And it was normal. It's part of the process of rebuilding and everything. But I kind of moved on the point where I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to move on to something else. So it's also a factor that makes me, like, I don't want to stay down. It's not because I don't like them. It's just because at one point, yes.
Yeah, basically. Alrighty.
Yeah, but I agree with you with your team's pick from what I can guess, like, team will lose.
Yeah, other than them, I don't really... Every other team, I think, would be a lot like this season. I think Detroit's going to basically take where Halifax was last season, or this past season, and the rest of the standings will be very similar. Not in the same teams, finishing 5th and 6th, though Vancouver has a good chance to be one of those, I believe, anyways. But 2 to 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, you know, it's going to be very close.
Yeah.
All right, and now we got Coach Biz, Izzy. Coach Biz and Team Austria have officially called out you and me and Team Ireland to a delicious dish Twitter bet for the upcoming tournament, where the team that fares better gets to choose a dish of their choice for the other team's Twitter feed to post as the world's most delicious food. What are we thoughts on the call out, and will we accept the terms? I would, but we don't have a Twitter.
That's true, actually. We could make
I don't
one.
even. It could.
Just for that.
If you do it, I don't even keep up with my own player Twitter. I just don't give a crap anymore.
I start to not do it as much. Yeah.
I didn't do it for.
Trouble this week's.
I didn't do it for like a whole season and a half, and finally I was just like, "Fuck it, it's 200K a season or a week." You know, I could have had like another 1.2 million, which wasn't really a lot.
No, it's not. So.
By now or something like that, or even like 1.8. I don't even know how much I figured it up to. It was under 2 million though. I was like, screw it, I'll do it, and I did it for like a whole season, or not even. It was like a month and a half. So it was like most of a season, and then it was done again. I just didn't care.
I think I'm gonna stop doing it soon. It's like it takes time for not too much. Like, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's still like I have to think about doing it.
Yeah, that was my problem. Is I just didn't think about it.
And like it's basically boring. So I'm probably gonna stop doing it soon. But Izzy, I will accept your challenge anyway, and I will create a Twitter just to post that. Like, nothing else, just to post that.
And then thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, would love to hear both of your thoughts on the upcoming tourney, both for our team and others. I think we covered ours pretty well.
Yes. Like, I don't think we have to return on it. Other team, I'm still expecting Germany to like dominate.
Dominate? Yeah, God.
They have still a lot of good players. I know there's probably gonna be a new head named. I think UK possibly.
Yep, I saw that too.
But other than that, Russia. How did they do last season?
Who?
Russia.
Did they make the? Yeah, they lost in round 1 to Norway.
Fucking Norway. So yeah, they could that could be something. Norway would probably do good. USA, that's gonna be interesting to follow as well. Did they miss it last season?
Yeah, they missed. I think USA is in kind of a not a rebuild, but just they have a lot of active players, but they're all kind of in the middle levels. They still have top players, but their depth is starting to lack, and it's there. It just needs a little bit more time to catch up. They have a lot of players, but I think a lot of them started going inactive towards a certain spot. So like they have like 2 really good lines, and then the 3rd and 4th line aren't that great. They might have to pull a Winnipeg situation. I think the biggest thing for them is their defense is a little hurting, which got even worse when I left.
Yeah.
And then
I'm not gonna say I'm sorry though.
Crutch retired too, so.
Oh, that's true.
I think this is the last season they have him. I think he was in USA.
Either that or Canada, but I'm pretty sure it was USA, and his player now is Canada.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I can't wait to see what some smaller team will do. Especially the one that got like last season, that started last season with new head, like Czechoslovakia, Austria, as well.
Izzy.
Izzy, I think it was this season.
So this is his first season. And I'm looking at the rosters now too, or at least for last season. You know, stuff has changed, but I'm not going through who's been added since then.
Yeah. And Latvia also gonna be. I think it's not long ago that they got a new head.
Yeah, Chris is their head, but I don't think Latvia's gonna do much.
Is Chris their head? I think it's at least LB posted that like.
I thought LB moved to Co, and Chris took over, but I'm not sure. But like looking at some of the teams, Austria has 2 really good lines. So like 2 really good lines. And then they have players like Ace, and their defense is pretty good, especially the top pairing with Vader and Malkin. So I think Austria will be good, but I think they'll be better next season when they can finally get Ace uncapped. With how much fucking TPE he has. So Austria, I think, is in a situation like us, so they need some players to get uncapped, and they'll be even better.
Yes.
The big teams are always going to be stacked: Canada, Germany, Russia, Norway, Sweden even. I'm like you. I want to see what some of these small teams do. Czechoslovakia, they have a really good top line, and then it kind of starts to... Oh, no, they got 2, because they got Sammy as well up there with Yager. I don't know what Zibinenek or whatever it is. I don't know what his TPE is, so we'll see that. So, it'll be interesting. To be honest, I would imagine that barring some really big upsets, it'll be the same 4 teams in the Final Four again or so.
The domination of the big nation.
Yeah, like the Final Four last season was Canada, Norway, Finland, Germany.
I'm expecting the same, yes. Like, seeing the name you just, said.
Yeah, you could maybe Finland and Canada switch out with, Russia or Sweden or something like that. USA maybe even if they sneak in. A lot of it's going to depend on group stage, though, and who gets grouped with who. Because you could get some, you have a stacked group and then a shit group, and you could have a stacked group knock some teams out that could go further just because they got into a really powerful group and they don't get to make it.
Yeah, I'm scared about this season, actually. I'm pretty sure we're going to end up in the big group.
Probably. Again, we mentioned it for us.
I really hope we don't, but I'm pretty sure we will.
We mentioned it earlier. It's just, we're not expecting as much this season. We have a good team, but it's not going to be great. As we go, it'll just get better and better.
So I'm kind of excited. It's starting soon-ish, so it's going to be really nice. Alright, let's move to Ace. What team do you think will be the most improved in the SHL next season?
SHL. I mean, obviously, he's fishing for it, and I'll bite.
I'm gonna say New England. Fuck it. We play like crap.
I mean, that's one of them. He's fishing for Edmonton.
I'm not gonna say Edmonton. If he's fishing for it, I'm gonna, not answer that.
I gotta agree on this one somewhat because they were trashed last season and they get all these call-ups. Not all of them are gonna be just, amazing, but Ace enough. Ace alone is enough to get them a few more wins. San Francisco's gonna be trash again. Then I think the rest of the West, was pretty even. So I think Edmonton will get a few more wins, and it'll take a few away from some of the other teams. And they might be able to battle LA for that final slot. Depends what happens with LA and free agency and stuff. If Haas leaves and...
Also, Hamilton will probably be better, even more than they are. Their call-up did help them last season, but not enough.
And they just got more TPE and more TPE, and they're calling up a few more, so they're going to have even more depth.
Yeah.
I think Hamilton's going to suffer from eventually having too many prospects, and they're going to have to trade some because somebody's going to have to play fourth line less minutes, and they're not going to be happy.
Yeah, and also it's going to create kind of a cap hell soon. Because they are really as far as I can remember, they are really close in year-wise. So, at the end of the day, it's also going to hurt when they're gonna get older and regressing.
Yeah, and then you have players that demand bigger contracts. So, we'll see what happens. This will be contract years for Loco, Sleepy, Noor. So they'll rather get extensions now, they got lower TPE, or which would be smart on Hamilton's part. Or they have to wait, and they're going to have even more, and, you start hitting those benchmark minimums where the price goes up. And then you have Teddy, who I think rather just signed. He probably did. I didn't even look. He had to have, though, because this year would have been his last one's thing, and I didn't check to see if he's a free agent. But he probably did. I mean, he loves it there. I don't know why he wouldn't. So, I think Hamilton will improve a lot. New England's going to improve. The East is going to be a bloodbath. Any one of the 7 teams could make it, so
that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Minnesota, West Kendall should be 1 and 2 again, probably, barring something weird. But everybody thought New England was going to be one of the top few, and they weren't.
I hope we can find chemistry this season.
All right. How well do you think your teams that you're both departing will perform next season?
I think I already touched that.
For you, yeah. St. Louis going to be interesting. We're losing basically 5 of our top 6 forwards. So we're going to have all of our rookies to slot up. The only good thing is of our bottom 2 lines, basically every one of them's been active. So actually we might be only losing 4 of our top 6, which would help. So basically we just slot them up, and you're just going to start moving up lines, and most of them should be capped by the start of the season, at least another line or 2. So we should have 2 capped lines again for a good amount of the season, and then we have a lot of picks coming in this Reddit draft, so we can just stack up on depth. And it's basically going to be the same situation that it was this season for St. Louis, I think, where we had 2 capped lines, then we had a bunch of rookies, and having to allow them to get more TPE. And as those rookies got more and more, the team just played better and better. And by the time playoffs hit, we were really fucking good and took Detroit to 7 and got close. And I think if we would have beat Detroit, we would be lifting that cup. The defense is also losing me. It's losing ERM. I'm not sure if we're losing anybody else, though. So hopefully the defense doesn't take a huge hit. But again, we have rookies that have been very active, so they should just slot right back in. And we're getting Yuma back again, so he's been slowly getting up there. With equipment and everything, he should, and training camp, he should get close to capped, finally. So I think in my predictions, St. Louis ends up about the same spot they did, maybe a little bit better, probably in that 3 to 4 range. And then we'll see what happens in playoffs kind of thing. And next up is, what are your picks for the SMJHL awards for this season? Which is funny enough, because I am on the award team, so I literally can just read my ballot that I've already submitted. But I'll let you go first.
Oh shit! Okay, I was not expecting to go first. Let me go get the award.
I can go first.
It's just the time to open the award, so it's not gonna be too long.
Oh, we can just go together for each award. So
right.
MVP, which I think is pretty fucking obvious that it's going to be you.
Yes. I also think it might already.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: 4 people have already done their ballots, and she's number 1 on every one of them. So.
Yeah.
Let's see. Award given to top GM. This one's been a little bit more spread around, I think. Not controversial, just spread around.
It's kind of
Well,
a way of saying controversial. Like many
Yeah.
people have multiple opinion on that.
Yeah, the top two choices have been for Halifax GMs and Detroit GMs. Since this is about my choice, I'm not going to spoil everybody's awards every time. I'll just do mine.
Yes, no. Like
nobody else showed up to the awards show at that point.
I'm pretty sure if I start to spoil all the award, I'm gonna get killed like Monday. So let's
Zoom,
not
don't
do
listen
that.
to this. Just mute your thing at this point.
Yes.
So yeah, top GM, I gave it to Halifax.
Yes. That's like the hardest thing to keep in mind is to consider that we need to not take playoff in consideration because it's regular season's award.
Yeah, there is playoff awards.
Yeah, I need to admit that like Wozy did still a pretty good job to finish second in like this season. They had only 2 picks, I think, in the last draft, or close to that, which ended up being Crotch and Finn. And they still managed to finish like second, but I think Halifax still had like, I think we had like 9 points more than them. We had only like 10 lose in the whole season, maybe not even. So that's a quite impressive like feat in my opinion. So for me it would go to them. Halifax.
Yeah.
Same
here. And I put Wozy and Waters second.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that we got exactly 10 lose in this season.
All right, an award given to most dedicated player, which, funnily enough, I gave to Ace.
He's fishing for it.
I don't think he was, because there's no way to know that. You end up winning it most of the damn time, so.
Yeah. For my part, there is many players that deserve it. If I had to vote, I would actually probably kill myself. I don't want to vote on that because I think like Ace still does deserve it because he's doing basically like his TP rate is crazy. He's also co-GM and everything. I would not necessarily put him first, but it's an impressive fact. But I do have to agree with other people when they say that one of the biggest player in the SMGHL is Bojo.
Yeah.
That guy did crazy for the website since like I can see like everything always linked to Bojo. So like he has his website is the Bojo box. He has he's hosting everything. He's always there when you have questions to help and everything. He's nice to like talk like overall. He's really deserving of that award. Like he's not as vocal as some, but he did so much over the years for that website that at this point he's pretty dedicated.
I agree completely. Because Bojo does a lot for the site, but I don't think it's specifically for juniors. I think it's for the site.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's my only problem with voting him for most dedicated for juniors. Like I love him,
but
except for the puns.
It's not saying that it's for junior though. The award is
this
for
is SMJHL awards.
Yes, but the award is for like overall, because at the end of the day, like I'm in this SMGHL HO, but I don't do more for SMGHL. I'm just all over the place as well. To an extent, Ace is not doing anything, as far as I know, for SMGHL especially. Like he's SHL GM, but not SMGHL.
True. I see where you're coming from with that. I don't know. It's just a really fine line. So a lot of it is helping the site overall and not juniors. And I don't know. It's really hard. I can't choose one person over the others.
No,
there's like 5 people, 6 people easy that could win this, in my opinion, and it's hard to put 3 on a ballot and order them the right way. And then we get to award given to top defenseman.
This one is pretty much like sim based.
Yeah, any of the top players ones are sim based. I ended up putting Danny's Lucas Mueller.
Let me check what it looks like. It was not. Let me compare him. I'm comparing him to Ted Glass, so it's not like even that much of a big deal.
He had 1 more point.
Yeah, he had 10 more shot block. No, 8. He actually is 3rd in shot block. So on a strong team, so it's not like we faced that much shots. He's kind of not hitting, though he's not a strong defenseman. But he's getting stuff done.
Yeah, I mean they were literally 1 and 2 on my ballot, so.
And he played almost the same exact minutes. I will say the biggest difference between the two of Lucas Mueller and Ted Glass is their 5v5 stats. In a way, because when you look at Lucas, he has 41 points. Only 10 of them are from power play. Ted Glass have 40 points, but all of them come from power play.
Yeah, 20 power play points, which is insane.
Yeah, it's really good, but at the end of the day, most of the games are played 5v5.
Yeah. And that's why his plus minus is 28 behind,
yes.
because power play points don't count for plus minus.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would agree with you that it would be a good choice. Next award up.
Top defensive forward. I went with Nylander. It's really a hard award to have any basis to put it on, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy vague.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you really can just judge for.
Well, the kind of thing I would look at if I was doing it would be probably hit given, shot blocked, and overall, did they also perform well? So if I take those factors in consideration, I would probably go with Smolander as well, because the hit allow you to get the puck back, and Chris is he's one of the top forward in point and hit given. There's really close Teddy Cuddle actually though.
Yeah, and I think he was my second choice on this one. No, I had him down for something else later. Giannis Doro was my second choice for this. I don't even remember why.
I would actually probably go with Cuddle.
Yeah, he's one of them. Shots blocked is a weird one because it's really good defensive, or for the forwards, and that's one of the reasons I picked Daro, because he had the second most while also having pretty even plus minus. Noor actually had right behind him and had way better plus minus. Honestly, I don't like the award. It's a stupid award in my opinion, because you can't, unless you're sitting there and going through the games and looking at stuff like, a turnover caused by this person, and you keep track of that, which you can't unless you want to go through every single game, then it's stupid. There's no stat, in my opinion, that can really just be like, oh, that's really good defensive for that forward, other than shots blocked, and that can be sometimes lucky.
Yeah. award would, like, blah. Next award, top goalie.
Yeah. Which for me was easily 4-4.
I want to see a stat. Let me get a stat. Blah, 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 blah.
He had .004 higher save percentage than the next person. He had basically 0.4 almost goals against average higher than the next person. He led in shutouts. He was only one behind the leader in wins, but he also played like 8 less games. So.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. He did play well as all the other goalie and still managed to, like, pull some pretty decent stat. Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm down. Like, and
right.
like literally, I mean, he had 24 wins in 36 games. So there was basically 8 games that he, like, didn't win in regulation time. So that's still pretty impressive.
Next up, we have the Ron Bolt, which is the most sportsmanlike, which I gave to Noor.
Yeah, that would be my pick as well.
Yeah, I think that was an easy pick for me.
Especially since you now share a locker room with him.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably picked it anyways. And then if you just want to go through the sim as well, he only had 6 penalty minutes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sportsmanlike on and off the ice.
Yeah. I don't know why my player just, like, I had 8 last season and now I just, like, I'm destroying people's face.
I think I had like 20 or something. Or not even. Probably had like 12.
Next up, most underrated players. I hate that award as well.
I had 14. Most underrated. Who did I pick? Downsky. That was actually pretty easy for me. Because if you look at the top stats, he was second in the league in points, or tied for second in the league with points with Viscott. And then you look at the average minutes played for everybody up there, and the top 12 are all forwards.
What the hell? Oh my god.
Every one of them is 20. What's the lowest one other than him? 20 minutes and 75 seconds, or 20.75 minutes a game. He has 18.72.
Okay. I need to go up to the 29th in the top scoring to find someone that play less than him.
Yeah.
29th. That's actually quite impressive.
The other close one, I think, would be Cuddles, because he had 19.48.
Yes.
Which isn't much lower, but it's 15 points lower.
Yeah.
20-something points lower on the plus-minus. Took a lot more penalty minutes. Do a lot more hits, though, but still, that usually is correlated with penalty minutes. So.
Yeah, for me, I think Downsky would be a great choice. It doesn't look like it when you
those are my
think
top
about
2.
it, but...
Playoff MVP, which I actually filled out today. This one was kind of, I was going to give it to Detroit player because they won. And Ariva Bean, I hope that's how you say it. I think was second in the league in points, but played like 4 less games than Twain. And didn't have very many less points or whatever. It's a weird sentence. Didn't have too much fewer. And then Twain was my second pick.
Yeah, it's rare that, like, it's really rare that the losing team gets it. It can happen, like, in real life, but you don't want it to happen, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, Ariva Bean is pretty good. Water is also really close. But just didn't put as much. Like, Waters have multiple point in power play, like 4 more than Arifabin. So at the end of the day, I think Maurizio made a better impact on his team in 5v5 and everything.
I almost put Waters as my third one. I put Twain second because of how many points he had, and he was probably very instrumental in Montreal making that far. So he deserved to have the second slot, knowing he won't win anyways. And then I almost put Waters third, and then I ended up going with the goalie of Marmeladev because looking at the stats, he led all the goalies. So and we outshot Detroit in a few games that they won. So I think
it's deserved.
Yeah, I think he deserves it a little bit more than Waters. Waters will get recognition for the GM award at least a little bit. If he wins it or not, I'm not going to spoil.
Well, he's going to be nominated probably anyway, so.
Oh, yeah, definitely nominated. And then the last one is top rookie, which I just went right down the line with the scoring because there was point differentials. Patty Kane Riley, then Kyler Gill, and Hansen from Kelowna for third. It wasn't too big, and I could have probably spread it out, but as they're rookies, and Riley and Gill had like over 30 points, which is more than I've ever scored in a season.
I would probably end. Oh, that's actually a tough choice. Gill or Kane Riley can pretty much both get it. I think there will be no doubt that the winner will be from the Firebirds. But I don't know to whom I will want to give it. Because Gill did had 2 more goals, which at the end of the day, that's what you need to win. But, Riley had 2 more points. Let me try to go check. Riley had 9 points in power play, and Gill had 12, so that doesn't help me at all.
Yeah, I think another thing to look at with that would be the plus minus for the two. One's at 4 and one's at negative 13. On top of that, what was the other thing? Riley is a center, I'm pretty sure. So I also went off of him winning 50% of his face-offs, which is pretty good. Oh, wait, no. Wait, where's the face-offs taken? Okay, yeah. Yeah, he had 1,200 face-offs taken, which is more than anybody on his team. And still 150% as a rookie. That's pretty good. It looks like PTF was kind of hurting on centers. But the fact that he was able to do that, I think, helps a little bit more. And he might have had 2 less goals, but he had 3 game-winning goals to Gill's 1. Alrighty.
So that covered pretty much everything for the awards.
Yep. And the last question we have, if Roman Augustus, Teddy Cuddles, Joey Lombardi, Cody Fletcher, Tiggle Biddies, and Noor Harak were all trapped in an elevator that was deemed inaccessible, who would survive the longest and why?
I have no clue.
I'm not gonna Noor, because everybody loves him.
Oh, are you saying everybody hates us?
No, just that we'd all squabble with each other on who to eat first.
Yeah.
And then everybody would be like, "Oh, we can't eat Noor, so we got to eat somebody else."
Yeah.
My player's 6'6", so I'd probably go first because it's the most meat.
Oh, that's so dark to think about. Hopefully I don't actually, I would probably want to go first because that sounds like a helpful situation.
Yeah.
No way I want to be in that, die.
Yeah. Alright. Well, that was it for our questions for the week. I think we're well over an hour. So, not sure if this will be the last of the Crow's Nest or if we might get one more in next week. Probably will. So, I think that'll be what, 15 episodes or 14? 15.
So that's 15. So next will be 16, or we're gonna start from 0. I don't know. Probably just we're gonna discuss that.
So we'll figure it out. Next week you might see it under a different name. You might see one last group of questions for this. And thank you all again for your questions.
Yes, it's really appreciated. It's allowed us to basically eat and train every day. So we like that.
And I think that's it. So good night, everybody. And we'll see y'all next time.